Hey guys, I know many of you are ready to learn about Victorian literature. That's the purpose of this today is to talk about Victorian literature. And I'll try to skim through it pretty quickly so that way you can go ahead and still have time to complete your assignments and stuff. Anyways, what is it? It's a literary period that encompassed 64 years. It overlapped with the Romantic period. Authors in society during this time focused on self improvement. So that was their biggest thing. And They were wholesome. The main characters in their stories, they were very optimistic. Everybody had goodness and was doing everything with the best of intentions, is kind of their view. So why should you care? The story goes that Victorians were so prudish they even covered piano legs with little pantalettes. Even saying the word leg at all was sometimes considered scandalous. So, okay, the idea we have of Victorians isn't too flattering, stiff, proper, old fashioned. We often describe them as if they were dusty chaperones of literary history. But that's not how they saw themselves. In their day, they were cutting edge. They had all these gadgets that they were improving upon. They were inventing things. They were trying to improve everything. And so that was the focus of them, is their whole idea of improvement. But unlike previous eras where they used satire to improve society, it was very straightforward. This is what I think we can do to fix it. They kind of shunned away from satire in this period. So they were all about self-improvement, improving life, improving everything. And so even though they may be seen as stuffy old boring people, in their eyes, they did not see it that way. So we'll kind of skip over some of that too. You get the idea that the whole focus is on self-improvement. Now, here's the thing: many of their novels back then were very, very long, like 800 pages. That's where you had serialization, so you would have multiple volumes to books or editions and things like that. It was also very trendy to have like a little blurb in a weekly magazine. So you get the idea that they wrote a lot. But luckily we're just focusing on poetry in this unit, so it is not too bad. And then, of course, there was industrialization. And so the Victorians were seeing major changes, but they saw it in a more positive light than necessarily the Romantics, okay? Most of them saw it as an improvement to society. And so that's kind of their idea, is it's trying to improve something. They're trying to better themselves. Most novels revolve around some sort of problem: whom to marry, what career to choose, whether to go to a party or not. But industrial novels really anteed up the conflict. And so you'll see the conflict could also be related to social class, could also be related to gender inequalities and things as well. And like I just said, so they were also very, very conscious of class, and the differences between the two, between working class and the upper crust, and the middle class, and middle class growing in the 19th century. And then there was suddenly more class graduations to keep track of. And so those were the things that they really focused on, because once again, the whole idea of improvement, you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to improve yourself from maybe the social class that you were in. Maybe you were in a lower class, so how do you improve yourself to the next and whatnot? Okay. And it the social ladder could also be kind of maybe to improve yourself, it's not so much about your social standing, but maybe about personality and things like that, how to better yourselves. And then, of course, there was the whole idea of science versus religion. And so they really focused on science, and maybe even the conflict between the two, but usually science had a prevailing hand, because once again, um, you got to think they were the first ones to confront Darwin's theory of evolution. So yeah, some people had questioned, was the Bible literally accurate? But Darwin was proposing a new theory about how the Earth came to be populated with so many different species. Okay, and so they would often go back and forth, and they loved that idea of debate and things. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind, because you can learn from. I mean, this has been throughout all of history. You can learn through debates. Okay, and so that was also along with their ideas as well. And progress, once again, goes along with their whole idea of self improvement. Really, if I could summarize all of this, would almost be improvement. Now, they were very nostalgic on their past, and so when you look at their past and things like that, they look at maybe as a growing opportunity, or how things have changed and how it was better. Because once again, it comes back to self improvement. Oh, I skipped one. Okay. And then, of course, they also had the whole idea of women's rights were definitely being questioned at this time. Well, maybe their lack of rights were being questioned at this time. How come they don't have custody rights over kids? How come they don't control their own property when they get married? And so there was a lot of this that was taken in, because once again, society revolves around self improvement. And so if there's one group that isn't being treated the same, that was something that people were going to look at during that time. Um, and you also had the whole idea of trying to make majority of people happy, and so, or trying to improve majority of people, because they knew not everyone would, but that was the consensus of the time. So Victorian literature is a little more, if you could just focus it on one aspect, that would be self-improvement. So or wholesome characters that were good with good intentions. So if I'm thinking of maybe my children, they watch all kinds of Disney stuff. And so a lot of the main characters are wholesomely good, Um, that would be kind of the focus that I would focus on, is kind of looking at, okay, the characters are wholesome, or there's good intentions. Everything's viewed in more of a positive light, because everybody wants to get better in this idea, okay, or in this literary movement. They saw a lot of that. So just kind of keep that in mind. So if I was going to apply this to a movie or something like that, I may look at a movie that kind of shows you how to improve. It might be a YouTube video of makeup tutorial or something like that. Anyways, what I would do now is go ahead and do your assignment where you apply this to a movie, television show, whatever, and you look for those characteristics. Maybe it's a movie that questions, women's rights or lack thereof, or kind of showcases that. It could be something that really focuses on the differences of class. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Stay safe, and stay healthy at home. Bye.